London Property, home of Super Prime, where you can find informative, educational and entertaining content covering all aspects of property.
So today we're in a conversation with Amit, who is a specialist in super prime rentals in the Hampstead area. Hi, Amit. Thank you for having us.
Hello.
So our main question is, what have you seen change, or what's been going on in the market in the past 3 to 6 months?
The changes in the last 3 to 6 months have been quite extraordinary, to be honest. Since when COVID happened, we had a big demand from people from central London that were living in apartments, wanting houses with at least a garden. Anything we had with a pool, from April, May, June, everything was let. And the trend has been following, it's been continuing that way, where there is a big lack of stock at the moment, and there's been some great deals that have happened. Only this month we let something for £40,000 a week.
Wow.
in Hampstead, for a 2-year rental. And it's probably one of the best houses we've ever had. But there are a handful of people, 3-4 people, families are looking for things like that at the moment. They want something brand new, beautiful, where the whole family can operate at home and have their own space.
And this is all domestic demand that you're seeing?
Correct.
Because obviously there's no international travel right now.
No.
So that was a really surprising turn of events for you guys when COVID happened.
Yep.
Which is now becoming quite a common theme, that people are moving away from apartments to houses with gardens. And where is the supply coming from?
I'll give the example with this particular house that we let. The owners were building it for the last 4.5-5 years, and their intention was to move in there. And then about 6 months to a year ago, they decided they didn't want to come to the UK. And we've been involved with their build, design, and we discreetly marketed it. We weren't even allowed to go online with it. And within the second viewing, we got an offer.
And this sort of shift to mega mansion rentals, I mean, from where I sit, I think it's been going on for about 10 years, where people are moving away from paying £5 million in stamp duty, exposing themselves to inheritance tax and capital gains tax. And if they need to be in London for their child's education or for work for, 5-10 year period, they're actually shifting to renting as a choice rather than buying these mega mansions. Is that something you're noticing here as well?
Most definitely. I would say to you, in the last 2 years especially, most of the tenants that I rented to were initially buyers, but then there's been a lot of unrest with stamp duty, and it's been increasing, and for the foreign buyers especially. So they have shifted to renting, and a lot of the sales stock that we had, I've been nicking it to supply for the demand, to supply the demand that we've got at the moment.
So actually, a lot of big property owners are becoming accidental landlords.
Yes.
And presumably at that level where the houses are bigger and the rents are so huge, the returns are more attractive than they are for the 1 or 2 bedroom flats, I would imagine. Because,
correct. I mean, one example is on the Bishop's Avenue. We had the house on the market for a guide price of 30 million, and we've done a 3-year contract with no break clause at 1.4 million per annum.
What's that percentage return?
About 3-4%.
Right, which is, when it comes to 1, 2, 3 bedroom, kind of bread and butter buy-to-lets, it's quite difficult to achieve.
Yep.
Unless you're on a busy road or on top of a shop or something, then you get the higher returns and then you don't get the appreciation. And this is an area of the market that I think is just only going to get more solid, right? Because not that many people are going to compete with you when it comes to supply.
Yeah.
But then the demand, I mean, certainly from my experience, it just keeps growing for these mega mansions.
Correct. It's anything half decent at the right price. The tenant knows the value of the property. I mean, if they were looking at this price to rent, they certainly can afford to buy, and they will work out in their own head that this is, it's worth the money they're asking. The landlord is asking for, and they're, because the tenants are savvy, but after a lot of negotiation, they end up paying the price because of the lack of stock.
Yeah, and also for landlords, it doesn't make sense to keep properties empty, especially if they're in a corporate name, because they're paying 150 to 200,000 pounds a year in empty property tax.
That as well, and what I found is once the tenant moves in, with these large mansions that we had for sale, they're a bit soulless. There's no life in them. They're brand new, big, huge mansions, and without any furniture, any fittings, the tenant doesn't have imagination. Once they actually physically move in there and they make it their own, we could easily sell it today.
The other question I have to ask you, because my nephew is a huge fan, is you get a lot of Arsenal players coming to this area as well, don't you?
Arsenal and Tottenham.
Arsenal and Tottenham. And how's that been in lockdown?
So what happens is with Arsenal and Tottenham, if they come into this area, Hampstead, Kenwood area, I get first call on it. If they go towards Totteridge, Radlett, another agent gets the call. And what I'm finding now is with the players, they want to be around this area because it's quicker to get to central London. And it's been pretty good. I think we've done about 7 players since last August.
Nice. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you think is important for our listeners to know about rentals or investing in the rentals market in the Hampstead area?
If people are investing in buy to let, the first thing I would say is do not cut corners. Invest in the property, spend the money on the property, make it right as if you would be living there yourself. And by doing that, you will get longevity. You'll get a long-term tenant paying the right amount of money without any hassle. If you have problems in the house, that's when you're going to get the calls.
So actually, at this level in the marketplace, the tables have turned. It's not that the landlord is worried that the tenant will leave and it will stay vacant. It's more like the tenant is worried that if this landlord makes me leave, how am I going to find another property to stay in for 5 to 7 years before my kids finish school?
I've got 2 situations that happened today. Both landlords are moving back, and the tenant, there is nothing for them to move into of something similar what they're in at the moment.
Yeah.
Of a similar house that they're in at the moment.
Well, as you know, we were involved in a property that the owner was thinking of selling, which was 10,000 square feet, and ended up getting a 5-year tenancy from someone coming from the south, exactly for the reason you said, a daughter going to Highgate.
Right.
So it's one to watch, but it's an interesting medium long-term investment for people wanting to put substantial amounts of money into a market. If they put it here, they're going to get a long-term tenant and their property is taken care of and their bills paid.
Exactly. And if you think about it, over the 4 or 5 years, the 5-year, you're looking at £2.5-3 million worth of rent coming in, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Absolutely. Well, Amit, it's been really interesting. Thank you very much for having us. And we look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks for listening to the London Property Podcast. Head over to londonproperty.co.uk and subscribe to our newsletter to receive latest updates.